Hey everybody, it's GauntletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today I'll be playing another premiere draft of Kaladesh Remastered, and let's just get into this thing. We have a couple really solid uncommons here, a couple great commons, and kind of a mediocre rare. I'm not a huge fan of Peacewalker Colossus. If you draft a deck with like a million vehicles, I suppose you get to use this to start activating all those vehicles without needing to crew them, but by itself it does not work well at all. It requires a crew of 4 to make a 6/6, which is quite a difficult crew cost there. Not a huge fan of Peacewalker Colossus, although it is an option. These uncommons are great. Voltaic Brawler's awesome in the aggressive red-green energy deck. Arborback Stomper great in any green deck. A 5/4 Trampler that gains 5 life when it enters the battlefield can really help stabilize and turn things around by being the biggest creature on the board. And then at common, we do have Chandra's Revolution, a great red removal spell that kills something and slows your opponent down. And of course, my favorite, Self-Assembler, where if you just pick up a ton of copies of this can be a 5-mana 4/4 that draws 2 to 3 more 4/4s out of your deck. Always feels like a great time when you get to cast that, but Arborback Stomper will be the pick for me out of that pack. Let's see what we have now. We do have Nature's Way, which is an excellent green removal spell. We do need a creature on the board to cast this, but if we have one for only 2 mana, we get to have one of your creatures deal damage equal to its power to a creature we don't control. This does not involve fighting, so our creature is under no risk of taking damage. Plus, that creature gets Vigilance and Trample, meaning it gets to block the next turn as well, which is pretty massive. I think Nature's Way is just an excellent green removal spell, and a very nice follow-up to the Stomper. We've got a great white common here, Dawnfeather Eagle, great Fatal Push here, removal spell in black, but we're just going to take the excellent removal spell that's on color. Moving on to pick 3, here's where the green picks might end, as the only green card in the pack is Appetite for the Unnatural. I do think that this card is main deckable in this format just due to the sheer amount of artifacts, and there's also a few enchantments that are good to blow up. So it's an option, but not something I tend to take particularly highly. That being said, I don't really like any of these on-color cards or off-color cards either. I think this is just a relatively weak pack. Aether Poisoner is okay. A little 1/1 Death Toucher to block those late game cards from your opponent. Really clutters up the board, making a servo as well if you get an attack off with it. Kind of a mediocre little pillar bug that could have lifelink. Gearseeker Serpent is fun, it's pretty nice, but it is quite an expensive card, so you don't want too many in your deck. But there can be some cluttered boards with servos and Thopters, so having a creature that could be unblockable can be pretty good, so I think I will go ahead and try the Gearseeker Serpent here. The Gearshift Ace is nice in like vehicle decks, but that's not really where green-white tends to be. So I don't think that'll end up being great here with these green cards. So we'll see where we go now. We could take Nimble Innovator to stay blue, and I do think just any card that draws a card when it comes to play is pretty decent. This is a bit expensive, 4 mana for a 2/2 to draw a card, but it's still solid. We might go with Revoke Privileges though, one of the better removal spells in the set. 3 mana to just have a creature be unable to attack, block, or crew vehicles, so it basically shuts the creature completely off. Yeah, pretty fantastic removal spell there. We also do have Riparian Tiger here, just a nice 5-drop, but I'd say probably nowhere near as good as the Arborback Stomper, but pretty decent. I guess if you have a big energy theme, it can attack in a little bit larger, but we'll take Revoke Privileges there. There's also Chandra's Pyrohelix in that pack, a great red removal spell. That could split up into 2 smaller creatures, but we'll take the Revoke Privileges there. I think it's just a little bit better. This is a bit difficult. I love Self-Assembler, and it's completely colorless, so we play it in any deck that we get them in. That being said, if we do end up in green, we'll probably have plenty decent 5-drops in the first place, but just the sheer value of drawing the extra cards off the Self-Assembler is pretty fantastic. We could also take another Revoke Privileges, and then we're just green-white with 3 excellent removal spells. Could take like Engineered Might as a big old trick there. I'm going to take another Revoke Privileges. It's possible we're supposed to just take Self-Assembler there because it's the most open card. Whatever colors we end up in, we can run with it, but I think Revoke Privileges is just another excellent removal spell there. Could try out a Renegade Rallier here. There's a couple combos that make the Rallier pretty decent if you have like Renegade Map or any like cheap artifacts or enchantments that sacrifice early game, then you can consistently trigger the revolt to make sure you're bringing something back with it. So that can be okay. If you don't revolt with it, a 3 mana 3/2 is a pretty bad deal, so you do need some synergies. Lifecraft Cavalry is like a really good 6-drop or 5-drop if you can consistently revolt, because then it's a 6/6 trample. But if you can't, a 4/4 trample is again just weaker than Arbor Backstomper, so we'll go with the Rallier there, see if we do get the combos going off. Wow, Self-Assembler's going late here. Pick 7 for this one. Could just slam it down, but I could also slam down Skywhaler's Shot. I hate myself so much right now. I'm going against all of my baser instincts to just end up in green-white removal deck. Let's just consistently have a giant pile of removal and hopefully just get a lot of good green 5-drops. I think green is probably the least likely to make the best use out of Self-Assembler out of all of the colors, because green can fill out its 5-drop slot already pretty well with its own uncommons. It has Arbor Backstomper and I forget the other one, Ridgescale Tusker, which are both excellent uncommon green 5-drops. I don't really like anything in this pack that much. I guess I'll just take like a Die Young here. Potential early game removal. Well, this is the Self-Assembler draft pot at this point. Maybe supposed to take Wild Wanderer. Helps get to our 5-drops consistently, even if we're stuck on 4 mana. It's a good deal. I mean, 4 mana for a 3/2 and draw a card off of it, but if I'm going to see Self-Assemblers pick 9, who knows how late they're going to go here, but it's possible that everybody's just drafting very similar to me here, and now everybody just took a pick 9 Self-Assembler, and none of us get more than one, and then we're all a little bit sad on the inside. I doubt I'm playing any of these cards. I guess Malphus Squad might be the most likely, but I'll just take the big uncommon for my collection. Well, Aether Poisoner is probably the best card in this pack. I don't really want to go for it. Need anything for my collection here because I don't love these. Mobile Garrison's the best of these 3, but I'm not that into that card. Just because you can crew it and then untap whatever you crewed. Oh, pretty late Barricade Breaker. That's not completely unplayable. All right, as I expected, I bet everybody just took like a pick 9 Self-Assembler there. And here is the Ridgescale Tusker I was talking about. An excellent green 5-drop that fills out that slot quite well. 5 mana for a 5/5 is already just a very high power toughness for the cost. Good rate right there. And you put a +1/+1 counter on each other creature you control, making the rest of your field even better. Pretty happy to take a Ridgescale Tusker here. I suppose we could take a Karizev as well. And try to move into green-red or white-red here, because we're not super... Yeah, we're not like actually that into either of these colors. We just have a couple great cards in each color. But I'll stick with what we've got here. We'll take a Ridgescale Tusker. And what have we now? I do not have a lot of cheap creatures at all, and I definitely want more for Renegade Rallier. So I could see a decent argument for the Kujar Seed Sculptor over the Lifecraft Cavalry here. We have 2 good 5-drop creatures already and 1 Self-Assembler that might end up being good. Whereas at less than 3 mana, we have 0 creatures. So get some cheap creatures so we have blockers in the early game to help us get there to our big late game, 5/4s that gain life and stuff like that. So we do have another Self-Assembler here, but I also don't have any 4-drop creatures, and Pima Outrider's pretty much the cream of the crop when it comes to 4 mana creatures. 4 mana for a 4/4 Trampler, or 4 mana for a 3/3 Trample and a 1/1 Servo. If we have like a Ridgescale Tusker in hand, then that is definitely what we're going to do so that we can turn it into a 2/2 and a 4/4. But often this will just come out as a 4/4 Trample and it'll be a good time. Now do I take a Gear Shift Ace? I mean, I don't even have any vehicles. I just really feel like Gear Shift Ace isn't exactly what the doctor ordered here. Could take High Spire Artisan. It's a pretty good blocker, pretty annoying blocker. A 1/4 reach at best. And I guess occasionally it is a 0/3 plus a 1/1 Servo. I don't love these white cards in this deck. I guess I could use some more 2-drops, so even just a 2 mana 2/2 is not bad. And 2/1s with First Strike are a lot better than just 2/1s in this format. One of the biggest issues with 2/1s is the sheer prevalence of servo tokens. Yeah, I don't know. I guess we can try Gear Shift Ace. Maybe we'll end up with some equipment. Another self-assembler, a rogue refiner for green-blue here. Excellent value card. 3 mana for 3/2, you draw 2 cards and get 2 energy when you play it. I can see just taking Rogue Refiner here. Now we're really looking for a card like Renegade Map because it'll help splash in a card like Rogue Refiner, and it'll also help trigger Revolt consistently for cards like Renegade Rallier. Yeah, I think Rogue Refiner is the best card in this pack. I guess Druid of the Cowl is actually also pretty excellent, especially with the power level of our 5-drops for what we're doing here. I'm going to go splashy here. We'll take the Rogue Refiner. I think if that card's going pretty late, that's a pretty great sign. And we have 2 cards that are really good with splashes. We have Wild Wanderer or Unbridled Growth. Unbridled Growth giving us that mana of any color that we need, and then sacrificing to trigger Revolt and draw us a card. Cycle itself when we don't need the color fixing. It's pretty awesome. Wild Wanderer is also just pretty awesome. The 3/2 and draw land out of your deck. Kind of a 2-for-1 in that way, a basic land and a creature on the 1 card. I think I will take Unbridled Growth just for the combos with Revolt cards like Renegade Rallier there. And now we have a little bit to consistently trigger Revolts, like kind of like Lifecraft Cavalry. I, again, still don't have a lot of 2-drop creatures, but I don't think it's to the point where I want to play Audacious Infiltrator. Definitely don't like the 3/1. Alright, I'm very happy to take a Kujar Seed Sculptor here. 2 mana, 2/3, get in here. And that Conviction is another consistent way to trigger Revolt, but a little bit less of a fan of it than the Unbridled Growth. Well, we could just have a million Lifecraft Cavalries. You know, we might have too many 5-mana cards right now. We're not going to play Self-Assembler because we only have 1, but we have 4 5-mana cards already. Not sure we're going to want a 5th, so maybe play Fragmentize. It's main deckable Artifact Enchantment Hate just because there's so many artifacts in the format, and the vast majority of them cost 4 or less, so this pretty much always kills what you need it to. Well, we could play Inventor's Goggles. I don't know how many Artificers we have, but usually you're going to have enough Artificers for Inventor's Goggles to be fine. We only have 1 right now, but here's another one, High Spire Artisan. Don't mind if I do. It's really cheap to play as well. Only 1 mana to play and 2 to equip for +1/+2. Pretty decent rate, even if you aren't getting the free equips on it. Ooh. Alright, an excellent on-color uncommon here, the Aerial Responder. 3 mana for a 2/3 Flying Vigilance lifelink. I think I'll just slam that down. Definitely think it's better for its cost than any of the other green or white cards in this pack. Yep. Come on in, Aerial Responder. So I could use like a second Unbridled Growth here. I think I'd have a lot of fun with that now that we have like double Cavalry as well for Revolt. So we like it for the mana fix and we also like it for the Revolt. But if we get lucky here, we can just end up with enough powerful green and white cards here that we just end up with a straight 2-color deck. No need to get that little value splash for the Refiner. And that's a great start to that. Another excellent card that's on color here, the Master Trinketer. 3 mana for 3/2. It buffs all of our Servos and Thopters with +1/+1 and lets us create more for 4 mana. Just as a great mana sink there. Don't think we have a ton of Fabricate going on right now, but even by itself, it's excellent. Got 1, 2. We only have a couple Fabricate cards so far, but with a Master Trinketer in the deck, we'll start taking more Fabrication highly if we see it. And again, by itself, still a pretty solid card. And with Unbridled Growth and a yearning for more of them, we might actually be able to Revolt on turn 2 for Countless Gears Renegade, which can be good. And worst case scenario, it's a 2 mana 2/2, and we are low on early game creatures, so I could definitely use that in the deck. We have 3 2 mana creatures, 0 1 mana creatures, not a ton of creatures at our cheap costs period. And nothing else in our colors is all that good in this pack. So we'll just take that little filler 2-drop creature there. I don't really like any card in this pack. Herald has an okay enter the battlefield effect, but it is only a 2 toughness 3-drop. Appetite for the Unnaturals, okay, because you can main deck Artifact Enchantment hit, but I already have one Artifact or Enchantment removal spell in the deck. Don't know if I want to. I probably don't. I guess we could take a Tune with Aether, but that's only relevant if we do end up going with the Blue Splash, which I'm a bit uncertain of at this point. I think we're pretty unlikely to play anything in this pack, but a Tune with Aether might be the most likely out of all of them. But it's not even that likely. All right, I'll definitely play a Glint Sleeve Artisan here. Fabricating 1, giving us more servos. Daredevil Dragster has been good when my opponents have used it, so maybe we could try that out. We do have 16 creatures in the deck. Crewing this thing, attacking with a 4/4 a couple times. If it gets to die to its velocity trigger, you do draw 2 cards after that. Interesting card. Yeah. Try out the Daredevil Dragster here. But now we definitely don't have enough servos to be exceptionally happy about the Master Trinketer. I am happy about an impeccable timing here. That is a playable little removal spell. Not excellent, not a high pick, but playable. Renegade Map's another card that can combo with Renegade Rallier and just other Revolt cards, getting that Revolt early in the game. There's also a good 2-drop here. I do like Narnum Cobra, just being able to Death Touch away big creatures later. I don't love Engineered Might. Maybe that's incorrect, but even though I'm green-white, I just don't feel this is that crazy, and I want more early-game creatures. So I like the Cobra there. Maybe even the Puzzle Knot. It's possible. Unsure about that one. That's another card that could help trigger Revolt and stuff, but it doesn't excite me a ton at base level. Probably not playing that Mastodon, probably not playing anything from this point on. Well, we'll take a look-see in the deck building here. Don't think I have enough Artificers for the goggles either. Although, again, pretty cheap to just equip it the regular way. So what do we have here? $18 creatures, 8 non-creatures. If we get the Rogue Refiner out of here, we can cut that out. And we don't have to worry about any blue mana here. We cut 2 more cards. Bastion Mastodon, probably the 7-drop as well. And then that's just the deck. Doesn't look bad at all. Just the consistent, pretty basic green-white strategy. Renegade Rallier, ideally, we can trade off a 2-drop on attacks and then just bring it back with the Rallier. But we also do have the Unbridled Growth combo with it potentially. Sacrifice the growth to make sure that we can Revolt and then just bring the growth back, draw another card. I do think Unbridled Growth is playable even in just a 2-color deck because at worst, just 1 mana draw card is not the worst deal ever. And occasionally it will help us. Revolt our Lifecraft Cavalries, which is a pretty big Revolt trigger, or it'll help us Revolt our Renegade Ralliers when we have a 2-mana creature in the grave already, which can be a good deal. And even just the extra draw card off of it. If we have nothing in grave at all, we just have Unbridled Growth on board and Renegade Rallier in hand. It's a pretty good turn 3 to just draw 2 cards, because then you draw 1 off growth, bring growth back, draw a card off of it again. Yeah. I like it enough for just the combo with Rallier. We've got enough 2-mana creatures now, all of which have at least 2 power, so we can crew the Daredevil Dragster pretty consistently and try that card out a decent bit. Seems like a decent little deck here. Nothing super fancy. P-Foul is definitely the weakest card in the deck. We don't have blue mana, so it's just a 4-mana 2/4. So I could see throwing something else in over that. Doesn't even necessarily have to be a creature, because it is a 4-mana card, so it's a pretty late game creature anyway. So we could throw in a Puzzle Knot here. Puzzle Knot combos relatively well with Revolt cards, but not super well because it does cost 2 mana to sacrifice it. So if I want to Revolt our Rallier out, I don't get to do that till turn 5. If I want to Revolt our Lifecraft Cavalry, we don't get to do that till turn 7. So it somewhat combos with Revolt, but not fantastically. It does combo well with Master Trinketer with the +1/+1. I guess we could just throw the Barricade Breaker back in, but we don't have a lot of artifacts to improvise it out, so it is going to be quite a hefty mana cost to get this on the board. So I don't think this is really the deck for it, although I have ran a couple of these in previous draft decks recently. Just don't think this is the deck for that. Maybe just a big dorky 4/5 and have five drops in the deck is better than a 4-mana 2/4. It probably is. Whatever the 40th edition to this deck is, it's not going to be great. Like, the 40th edition could be a Puzzle Knot, which can be okay in certain situations, but not super exciting. Mastodon, very similar. Or it could be Rogue Refiner, which is exciting when we get to cast it. However, it does make our mana base considerably worse. What's the 40th edition? I'm just going to be a little basic here and just go with the Puzzle Knot. Try out that Puzzle Knot. Maybe it'll underperform vastly, and then we'll throw in like a big old elephant or something. I do love me some elephants. Ooh, we do need to name the deck and get those flavorful lands. That is how you get the best luck in your gameplay. Everybody knows that. So let's get some beautiful little castle-looking stuff in the distance there. And then for the forest, we'll go with a nice like hanging gardens looking one that has like an archway made of plants and stuff. It's quite beautiful. There's actually multiple that are kind of like that, but let's go with this one. So what is this deck? This is such a simple, basic deck here. Not a lot of fancy synergies or unique abilities to this deck. So what do we really call it? With Renegade Rallier and Unbridled Growth being one of the only moderately combo-y things the deck is doing, or one of the only moderately unique things the deck is doing. Oh my god, it's a Pangolin? Ridgescale Tusker is a Pangolin beast? Okay, Ridgescale Tusker is one of the best cards in this deck. I'm going to have to give a shout out to the Pang Gang. We'll name it after the Ridgescale Tusker and make that the picture on the artwork. It's a very niche reference, but I hope someone out there in the chat might get the reference of Pang Gang. Well, it's kind of a 2-for-1 reference. It's a play on words to a political thing that probably a lot of people in chat will get, but it's also a pre-established meme in another Magic streamers community. All right. Very excited to see how this deck operates. Just because it looks like a really consistent kind of deck here. This looks like your basic bread and butter 3/3 or 4/3 deck. I don't see this deck just absolutely falling apart and collapsing, but I also don't see it soaring to great heights. So this looks like just a nice, consistent, your peanut butter and jelly of decks here. See how things go, though. But I'm hoping for just your nice average run here. Well, that's actually a combo I didn't even consider in this deck. That is very spicy. Gear Shift Ace in conjunction with Daredevil Dragster to attack with a 4/4 First Striker every time we send that bad boy in. That can be an absolutely terrifying threat for our opponent to face down, but it does die after 2 attacks, so not that threatening. We also do have a pretty good curve with our Ridgescale Tusker here. We get to play our turn 3 Daredevil Dragster, so we can attack with it next turn. But we can also get our Puzzle Knot going turn 4. That way, we get a couple servos on this board, because we can play it for both of the 1/1s next turn. And then by doing that, we'll have 3 creatures on the board for the Ridgescale Tusker to throw counters onto on turn 5. We do need to hit another green source for that, though, so it might not happen. They do have an Implement of Malice on the board as well that can force us to discard a card, and that does kind of ruin our plans, because I really don't want to discard Revoke Privileges. I think if they force us to discard a card, I might discard... You know what? I might discard a Plains here, But if not that, I'll discard Puzzle Knot, because Tusker is the strongest card in our hand. Revoke Privileges is the best interaction that we have, so I don't want to discard either of those. With the Daredevil Dragster, we will be drawing 2 additional cards eventually, and we need another green source anyway for the only card that costs more than 3. So because we can't cast Tusker until we draw Forest anyway, this Plains isn't incredibly important. Alright, they don't go for the Implement of Malice here, so I'm pretty happy with that. Ooh, Renegade Rallier. We could play that next turn after Daredevil Dragster dies and guaranteed get the Revolt trigger off of it, which means this turn we can just Puzzle Knot and then attack with Dragster. Next turn, Dragster dies, we play Rallier, bring back Puzzle Knot. Pretty fancy. That could be our backup plan if we don't have the green source for Ridgescale Tusker, I suppose. So here, I think that I'm supposed to just Puzzle Knot first because they're tapped out. By Puzzle Knotting first, I can crew our Dragster with a couple servos instead of our Gearshift Ace. They only have a 2 toughness blocker, so a 2 power first striker can attack in well. So we crew with these servo tokens we just made so that I can just attack all in and hit them for 6 damage here unless they chump block. Beautiful. We do get that 6 damage, and they are down to 12 life now, and that is 1 velocity counter on the Daredevil Dragster. Next turn, it'll get that second counter on it after it deals damage, and we'll sack it to draw 2 cards, trigger our Revolt, and have a lot of fun there. So our opponent has sacrificed the Renegade map for a red source here, so they've got 4 mana, 2 red, 2 black. They're going to hijack the Daredevil Dragster. What a brutal card for them to have against us. Hijack, not a particularly popular card. You really need a lot of sacrifice outlets to make it work consistently. But when your opponent has a Daredevil Dragster, that is about the best deal in the universe you could possibly imagine. Hijack just turns into a removal spell for our vehicle and a draw 2 for them, and now they implement of Malice to discard a card, or force a discard here. Wow, yeah, that was disgusting, if I'm being completely honest. So I don't have a consistent way to trigger Revolt now for the Renegade Rallier. So do I just discard the Rallier? I could see discarding the Privileges because we don't need it here. I could see discarding Tusker because it's the only thing I don't know if I can cast. Probably supposed to discard Tusker technically because we have 8 forests left in the deck. We're at a 27% chance to hit a green source. 1 out of 4. Pretty low chance. It's going to take a while to get there on average. I'm probably supposed to discard Tusker, but I think the upside is so high if I just draw Forest next turn that I'm going to discard Privileges and stay aggressive here. Alright, well that's not ideal. Just play Rallier here. We're not going to trigger Revolt anymore. They hijacked our Daredevil Dragster, which is just so brutal. I'm going to hold on to this Plains just in case they have another Implement of Malice. They have like a ton of cards in hand, so I highly doubt that's the best they can do this turn. But this Plains doesn't help us cast anything anyway. Play a Chief of the Foundry as a blocker here. We hit Arborback Stomper. Wow, we are definitely digging for that green source. I guess forests aren't the only out. We have 8 forests and an Unbridled Growth. We can throw an Unbridled Growth onto one of our Plains to make it tap for green mana. But yikes, all we have here is a 1-for-1 trade now. I guess if we clear out the Chief of the Foundry, that lets Gearshift Ace start getting in, but they've got 6 other cards in hand. They're tremendously likely to be able to play more blockers and really stabilize here, so I don't think that it's worth throwing the Rallier under the bus when the Rallier could get counters on it if we wait. And there's the Pyro Helix. This is turning out to be a brutal game. The hijack on the Oval Chase Dragster, just such a massive swing. They'd be at 4 life here if they couldn't pull that off, and we'd have 2 more cards in hand, which digs us farther to get to the forest. Plus, we would have been able to use the Renegade Rallier and bring back the Cogworkers Puzzle Knot because we would have triggered Revolt. Pretty impossible to overstate how powerful that hijack was for our opponent. I think I play Arborback Stomper first here. Get more creatures to get counters on. Just going to disintegrate it, sure. Gain the life anyway. 4 cards in hand from our opponent, plus a Renegade map for another land. If nothing else, that land can be used to discard to draw a card with the Quicksmith Genius when they play another artifact. Fenhauler getting improvised. 5/5, can't be blocked by artifact creatures, but we don't have a lot of those, so we're fine. Well, all we can really do here is play the Tusker. Suppose at least the Tusker can attack in and trade for the Fenhauler. Get that out of the way for our other creatures. The board states are pretty stable here, but my opponent is definitely at the advantage now. Even though I'm at the advantage in terms of life totals, and like very slightly on board. They have 3 more cards in hand than me, plus a draw engine on the board with the Renegade map to give them another card to discard towards it. So I do feel like our opponent's in the driver's seat here. They hijacked the driver's seat from us, especially if they do just have like Yahenni here. Very good. Whenever one of our creatures dies, they get a counter on Yahenni, so it's just going to keep getting bigger throughout the game. Now they can just go for all the trades they want. They can trade Fenhauler for Tusker, and it's just a net positive for them, I think. But I could also just not block Fenhauler, and then I attack with Tusker, and they have to double block and lose 2 creatures. Yeah, I mean, I can also just not block. I'm at 18 life. Now I just attack them with Tusker instead. Force them to lose 2 creatures here. Right, because they double block with Chief and Quicksmith Genius to kill Tusker, or they double block with Yahenni in one of those 2, but if they do that, if they don't want Yahenni to die, they need to sacrifice a creature to give Yahenni indestructible. Sweatworks Brawler. Do they have a good double block now? They do. They have 6 toughness with Sweatworks Brawler plus Chief of the Foundry. Kind of ruins our plans here. Now if I attack all, they just go block, block. They go, yeah, they do the double block on Tusker. They only lose one of those 2. They single block there. They block the Servo with Yahenni. Yeah, if we attacked all here, they could block Servo with Yahenni and then just sacrifice Fenhauler because it would be worth it in the long run because they'd wipe our whole board and they would keep a big Yahenni out plus a 2/3 because I could only kill one of the 2 that blocks there. Yeah, attacking's horrible right now. Do you want to sacrifice a creature to give Yahenni indestructible here? And they hit for 8. We got a 5 life if we do this, but we keep all our creatures. We have 2 left to block with. Block at 5 life. We just died everything else. I'd say this approximately blows. If I block Yahenni, they can sacrifice the Chief of the Foundry or the Quicksmith Genius to give it indestructible. In which case this just trades down into one of these 2, but at least we're clearing out their board a little bit. We don't have anything in our deck that's going to get out of this one, unless we hit like a Nature's Way might help. Yeah, well, some other removal in our deck needs us to have creatures alive, so I guess we just do this. We kill one of their creatures here and take 8. So we go to 5. Very low chance of survival here no matter what we do, but this feels best to me. Well, Subtle Strike will do it. We do still kill one of their creatures at least. So we kill one of their creatures and take their combat trick out of their hand. Subtle Strike would have made any block absolutely horrendous, though. Like if we ever went for the Fen Hauler block this game, we were mega killed anyway. Can't survive. I mean, I can technically survive one turn, but again, I already stated there's nothing in the deck that gets out of this one. We have to make 2 chump blocks that turn because our creatures have 4 power and we have to block both the 5 power creatures. We have to block 2 5/5s with 4 power creatures to not die. There's no card that is going to turn us from a 0 cards on board position to a winning position against 4 big creatures. Pretty brutal round 1 there. The hijack on the Oval Chase Dragster was just one of the most brutal things I've even witnessed in this format. That got me so bad and really turned the tide of that game in the grand scheme of things, I would say. So, bit of a slow hand here, not doing anything till Master Trinketer, but once we do, we can just start flowing a bunch of tokens onto the board. Do draw into a Cogworker's Puzzle Knot. That's a bit awkward. I think we want to play Trinketer before anything else. We definitely want to get our board real wide for this Tusker. That's going to be really spicy in the future. Play a Trinketer here. But we might go double Puzzle Knot next turn, get a couple servos, because they're going to be 2/2s. Just excellent. Definitely no blocks here. I don't want to trade down into that. Pima Outrider. 3/3 and a 1/1. And make it a 4/4. There's an Oval Chase Dragster, or Daredevil Dragster, getting the names mixed up. So Daredevil Dragster's 3 to cast, so if I cast it, I don't play anything here, but I could crew it as a 4/4 and just trade for the Pima Outrider. Could also just trade for the Pima Outrider with a couple servos. They are going to send the Outrider in. See what kind of combat trick they have. If they do have a combat trick, it doesn't get us that bad. We trade our Puzzle Knot for whatever trick they're playing. Alright. No trick. We're just going to have a clear board against each other here. They play a 4/5 now. Ooh, Unbridled Growth triggers a lot of things here. That helps Renegade Rallier or Lifecraft Cavalry. Do I want to just play Unbridled Growth here then? If I play Unbridled Growth, I can spend 4 and make a servo. And then I have an explosive turn next turn because I just play Cavalry after having a Revolt trigger and play it as a 6/6. A 6/6 that can block their Bastion Mastodon all day long. And by making a servo here, I can trade with the Cobra or chump block the Mastodon, depending on if they single attack or double attack me here. I mean, that seems pretty safe to me. I could also just play the Dragster, but that feels worse. I could also Rallier, but if I want to Revolt on the Rallier, I sack the Growth, bring back the Growth here. Just for a draw 2, but a 3/2 doesn't block anything well here. So I kind of want to bring back Puzzle Knot with Rallier later. Could be wrong, though. Could be better to just draw. Yeah, I think I'm going to wait on the Rallier. Because if I bring the Puzzle Knot back with the Rallier by sacrificing this to trigger Revolt, then I don't have a way to trigger Cavalry's Revolt unless I have 7 mana. I would love an attack both here, but an attack 1 is also not bad for me because then I just trump. And I just survive through this turn really easily. Just super unscathed here. Could just take 4 also. I guess with Tusker in hand, that's definitely a viable option to consider. Aviary Mechanic. Return one of their cards to hand. Just a 2/2 then. Nothing here to enter the battlefield effect or revolt with. So we go for Cavalry now, which was the plan. All right, yeah. Go for the Cavalry here. Let's see what we draw. Revoke Privileges is not bad at all. Get rid of that 4/5. Definitely really like playing this land out as well. We could make great use of up to like 8 mana here with a 5-drop and multiple 3-drops still in hand. Plus with the mana sink ability on the Trinketeer. So just attack with Cobra. We take 2 because we can just block that with servos easily later on. Narnum Renegade, another Death Toucher. Just get the servo game going. Costs 4 mana to make a servo, so if I want to make a servo, I can't do anything else here. And with multiple Death Touchers on their board, I think the best way I could try to block things here is just by making servos. So just pass turn and make a servo. And now they just don't have good attacks because they have to trade into not a card. They have to trade into a servo token if they want to send in a Death Toucher. And if they want to send in a 4/5, they just die to a 6/6. Filigree Familiar will attack well because that'll just trade with a servo and draw them a card. Alright, I guess we take 1 damage here. Not bad at all. I guess it does require a mana from them to give the Cobra Death Touch, but I think they probably have enough mana now that they just have extra mana. Yeah, like they just have a mana left over this turn anyway. We have 7 mana, so now we can revoke privileges and make a servo. Or we can dragster and make a servo, and the servo can crew the dragster, and then we have a 4/4 blocker if we need it. It's also pretty exciting. We could also just crew the dragster with the Trinketeer, because the Trinketeer is not going to block anyway. Yeah, I like dragster over privileges here. But I do like privileges as well. At 13, I'm a little scared how wide their board is, but their hand is just full of Dawnfeather Eagles. We can definitely start getting slapped here. Or if they have a Ridge Scale Tusker of their own, I guess that would be the worst case scenario. Inspired Charge for +2/+1 to everybody. I have 7 mana here. I can cast Privileges and Rallier next turn. Do I just let Trinketeer die to survive Inspired Charge as well as possible? I doubt it. Because if I choose to crew with the servo instead, then I get to block with a 3-power creature, which can kill a 2 toughness thing even through an Inspired Charge, which seems really important to me. I don't know. I'm gonna crew with the Trinketeer here. Inspired Charge is such a big blowout here no matter what. 4 things are hitting me for at least 3. I actually probably just die if it's Inspired Charge no matter how I block. But the best block option, +2/+1, right? We just have to stop as much damage as possible. So we take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Take 10 damage if they Inspired Charge. Is this a board wipe? Just a Pima Outrider? Oh, this is so weird. Well, I'm really glad I didn't trade with the Trinketeer then. I really thought it was Inspired Charge for +2/+1 to the field. Dragster has to survive combat for me to draw some cards off of it. Is it worth the attack with Dragster here? Because then I get to Renegade Rallier with Revolt. And then I'll have 4 mana up afterwards, so I can revoke privileges after doing that. I do have enough mana to play Seed Sculptor plus Tusker. That seems pretty great to me, too. Yeah, no, let's just really get blockers all set up here. Be nice, warm, and comfy behind all of this. Not even going to attack in this turn. We'll attack in when we have the mana to make servos to chump. Yeah, they're just going to scoop them up. Okay. Whew, that attack that last turn must have just been the desperation swing then. Just trying to find any way to chip in extra damage to go wide enough to get through all my stuff. All right. Well, 1-1 then. As we head into round 3. So it has gone as imagined so far. We are perfectly average. 50-50 win rate right now. Definitely have had my best success in this format with the black-red decks. Those are just black-red aggro decks. We just got to pick up so many copies of Unlicensed Disintegration throughout the streams this weekend. Or I guess not weekend, but my weekend this Monday, Tuesday. All right. Well, I'll keep this, but it can definitely blow up in my face. Opponent is going first, so we are on the draw. Gives us some time to hit the 3 lands we need to make it to these big cards, and there's the second green source already. So we just need more lands, any lands, regardless of color. Trade some Cobras here, or I could fragmentize theirs. I'm just going to not block here if they send in the Cobra, because I can try to attack with our own Cobra and get a nice revolt trigger for Rallier. If they play something else, that'll trade for it. Or if they just play nothing, then I probably still attack with Cobra. So no trade there. Do we hold off on the Rallier for max value, or because of the fact we have great cards coming up on our curve, do we just keep curving out on board? Probably just keep curving out on board. So we can stay aggressive and have enough creatures for Ridge Scale Tusker to put a lot of stuff out. 4 mana now for our opponent. And a Wild Wanderer is the play, a 3-2. We could trade 3-2s here, I guess. Then grab a red source off the splash. Yeah, a 3-2, even if we have a +1/+1 counter on this whole field, a 3-2 will... Ooh. 3-2 will beat our 4-3 or anything like that. Yeah, I like just keep attacking here, let our 3-2s trade, especially because we have 5 life gain coming out next turn, plus a lifelinker this turn. Like, we're racing really well with this hand. We're gaining life in the sky with Aerial Responder, we're gaining life next turn off the Stomper, and then after we've cast all the creatures in hand, we'll go with that Tusker as usual. Scrapper Champion, scary double striker there. Turns into a 3-3 double striker if they spend 2 energy when it attacks. So pretty threatening all around. But hopefully with the amount of life gain in hand, we can still just try to outrace that. We have enough mana to cast Fragmentize plus Tusker next turn, which should be really nice. For now, I think we are playing Arborback Stomper. We can't attack into a double striker well with a 1 toughness creature. We can definitely send it in the sky here. Let's gain 5 up to 21. It's going to be a 3-3 double striker, so even if I double block with a 5-4 and a 2-1, I don't have good blocks. So I just got to take 6 damage every time that thing attacks for a little bit. Nimble Innovator, 2-2. Going to block not particularly well on the ground. I do have a Trampler, but it is going to block on the ground. Are they holding back the champion for blocks here? That might be That might be something they want to do here. Be pretty happy if the champion just stays back, because then Aerial Responder really just keeps winning the race. So do I just take 2 here because I'm going to gain 2 life plus I have Fragmentize, or does every point of life matter to where I want to trade Cobra? Because Cobra is not going to be able to attack in well till I get rid of champion. Yeah, I've got a decent enough amount of removal that I think I just take 2 here. Because I have like Revoke Privileges, Hunt the Weak, all of that kind of stuff to get the champion out of the way. Champion's the only thing. Oh, impeccable timing. Champion's the only thing really stopping the Cobra from attacking, because anything else would just be like a trade here. So I can Tusker plus Fragmentize if I want to Tusker main phase. Or I could hold on to this impeccable timing. But if I want to impeccable timing here, I don't get to do Tusker. And if I play Tusker, I'm attacking with a 5 toughness creature. A 5 toughness creature, their double striker doesn't kill it by itself, so they have to block with multiple things. They actually have to block with all 3, or they have to block with the double striker plus like a 2/3 or something. So the Arborback Stomper and the Aerial Responder are attacking really well after a Tusker. So I think I Tusker and Fragmentize here. And I don't hold up the Cobra mana, because the only thing I would want to kill with Death Touch anyway is the double striker, and I just can't do that. They do go for the multi-block to go ahead and kill the Stomper. So we take 2 first strike damage, but then I can deal 6 as I choose. So I kill the double striker and the 2/3. 6 damage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Kill their 2 best creatures here. They can have the 2/2 stick around. Things are going pretty great here. Is it even worth it to Fragmentize the Cobra? It does block like our 5/5 well, so yeah, we'll do it. We make the most of our mana that way as well. Keep this board as clear as possible for a nice swing next turn. We just have no guarantee they're even going to play another artifact. Well, I do get some flying tokens, but not big enough to kill the Aerial Responder. They could attempt to triple block the Responder, which I think is a net gain for us. 1, 2, 3, 4. They have to block with 3 creatures here, 2 2/2s and a 1/1 to kill Ridgescale Tusker, so it's, I believe, a good trade, especially with impeccable timing in hand, because either place they try to do a big multi-block, we can really get them. Unless they go for the big multi-block on both, which I don't think they have enough creatures to do so. All right, down to a couple 2/2s on board. The Flyer's going to keep getting in there. Wild Wanderer grabbing a land. Sure. And pass the turn. They can double block. Oh my god. They can double block Ridgescale Tusker with a 3/2 and a 2/2 now, but if they do that, I just have another impeccable timing, pretty much. Just top deck King over here. And even if they triple block, all I have to do is kill the 3 power card. Absolutely disgusting draws this game. This even scries when we cast it. So we get that land out of the way. Alright, they're dead to 1 more flying attack if they don't have removal. They do have Welding Sparks for 3 damage to finish off the Tusker. They need to top deck a Flyer here to survive the Aerial Responder. We'll see if they have. No, that is the concession, leading us to 2 wins and 1 loss here. The Pain Gang takes it again. It is on the back of a Ridgescale Tusker that we make it to victory, but also very much on the back of the Aerial Responder in the sky. But it's the 2-card combo that really got there because it made the aerial responder a 4 toughness flyer, so it could survive that welding sparks at the end there. All right, we are on the play, not doing anything till turn 3, but what else is new? Yep, just a lot of what we have been doing. Just slowly playing some dorks out. We have both colors. I don't think it's mulliganable, but I'm not a big fan of this hand because we cannot even cast, or we can't even crew the Daredevil Dragster because we only have 1 power with the High Spire Artisan. Aether Swooper. Well, at least we can block the Aether Swooper all day long with a 0-3 reach. So we're kind of just chilling, hanging out here. I think I'd rather have a 1-4 reach than a 1-1 token here, because the 1-1 token can't attack into a 1-2, and that's not going to attack as long as we have a reach creature. Plus, they're on blue-white here. If they have any Thopter tokens, any 1-1 flying tokens, then we can block and kill them now. But if they have 1-1 flying tokens, they can attack into a 0-power creature all day long. Aerial Responder is the draw. Pretty great draw here. I think we'll just slap it out. But do I attack in now with the Artisan? I don't see a huge reason to. Like, they don't block here, so we chip in for 1 damage, but then we play Responder. And then I guess they don't crack back, so it kind of is a free damage if they don't have removal, but if they do have removal like Revoke Privilege, they're 100% casting it on Aerial Responder. It's just an excellent card. So, I don't know. I'll get that 1 damage in. See what happens. Hopefully no removal here. I'd really love it if they had Impeccable Timing as a removal spell, because then if they use it on Aerial Responder, then we just get to revolt our Lifecraft Cavalry. Although I suppose we did just draw into a Ridgescale Tusker, so I probably just main phase that so I get more life gain off of the Responder here. Yeah, the amount of open mana they have up is really suspicious, so I'm assuming they have Impeccable Timing. By playing Tusker first, at least I 2-for-1 for the Impeccable Timing. Yeah, the only way that I would beat like an Impeccable Timing here would be if I put the counter on Responder and then I wait to attack until I revoke privileges the flyer. I don't think it's worth that. We can take the 2-for-1 trade here because I kill Swooper and Impeccable Timing on this attack if that is their removal spell. Alright, well, it's no longer an attacking creature, so no Impeccable Timing. Alright. I don't know what's going on in my opponent's deck. Nothing there turn 4 then. Aerial Responder and Ridgescale Tusker into Fumigate. Okay. I was hoping that the Aerial Responder and Ridgescale Tusker combo would just get right back at it again. We're going to go with the Dragster over the Cavalry here because it attacks and blocks just as large as the Cavalry would as a 4-4. And this way we might be able to get Revolt for the Cavalry because the Dragster will die eventually. Whenever the Aetherstorm Rock attacks, they get energy and tap a thing. So we just shut that off with Revoke Privileges here rather than cast the Cavalry. But we can go for the Daredevil Dragster attack first and see if we can get a block off. I mean, they're not going to chump block here, so I should just revoke. Yeah, they're not going to chump block. So I should revoke it in case they have maybe like a +2/+2 combat trick of some sort. I don't think there is one, but just in case. There's no universe in which they'll block unless they get to kill the Dragster without losing a creature on that block there. Aether Meltdown. I'm actually very okay with that. Sure, I don't get any damage in now, but now I kind of 3-for-1 them because I draw 2 cards off of this, and their Aether Meltdown has just been spent on a temporary creature here in the Daredevil Dragster. Alright, and yeah, we pop the Dragster now to draw 2 cards, and then we get to play Cavalry as a 6/6 trample. Big enough to block the Aether Inspector all day. So we draw 2. They've essentially had to discard 1 there to stop that 8 damage. I think a good deal all around for us. And we get to get that Revolted Cavalry out now. They have 3 cards in hand still. Could be their own revoke privileges, in which case Aether Inspector kind of closes this game out, being the biggest creature on board and creating multiple servos. Suppose if they do have removal for Cavalry, we'll have to remove their Aether Inspector, which is not a great deal, because it is such a small card. Confiscation Coup is pretty abysmal. Now we're really in for it. Any card that steals a card in Limited is just absolutely brutal, because it's the greatest 2-for-1 you can imagine. It's a removal spell that kills your opponent's best card, and it also creates a card as powerful as your opponent's best card on your own board. So I think we just get got by that. That is incredibly destructive. I think we have to revoke privileges now, but then we are getting eaten up by this Aether Inspector, as previously mentioned, just by it being a 2-3 against a 2-2. Fragmentize is a dead draw here, unfortunately, in this matchup. But maybe that'll change as things progress. Dawn Feather Eagle. Pretty bad. Now they even get to attack with the servo token this turn. Well, this was a pretty brutal game. Our opponent dropped some very powerful 2 and 3-for-1s on us. I believe Fragmentize or Fumigate ended up being a 3-for-1, killing our whole board when they had nothing left out. And then, of course, Confiscation Coup becoming the super powerful 2-for-1 there at the end. Really brutal stuff from our opponent. Play a 4-4 now. We're still dead in the sky in 2 turns. I think we still die immediately. We can block 2 creatures. We block Aether Inspector on the ground and a 1-1 on the ground. I guess we don't die immediately if I Fabricate, because then I get to block Aether Inspector with Pima Outrider, and then we can block 2 servos. So I take 3 in the sky and 2 on the ground. I go to 1 life that way. And this is definitely why I never main deck Naturalize effects in most limited formats. This is literally the most artifact-heavy limited format that we've ever had on Arena, and Fragmentize is still a dead card in this matchup. Like, it can kill 1 servo, but that's such a minor effect in this matchup that we're basically down a card by having a Fragmentize in our deck. And the Fairgrounds Warden makes it lethal here, because now we just only have 2 blockers again. So just some absolutely excellent... excellent 2-for-1s from our opponent this game. It is going to be 2 and 2 now, so I do hope to get at least 1 more win out of this deck before we're out of it entirely. But 1 more loss will kick us out, so we gotta fight hard to keep our teeth in the game here. But a 2-3 is not the end of the world, not the absolute worst record. It's as close as you can get to average while still being a losing record. Alright, so Forest into Plains here, hoping for another Plains for that Responder turn 3, that'd be excellent, but Unbridled Growth will get us there. Is it better to guaranteed cast a Responder next turn, or just cast a Cobra here? I feel like, and I could be wrong here, I feel like it's better to just make sure that I'm casting Aerial Responder on turn 3 than it is to cast a Cobra turn 2. And Long Tusk Cub will start things for our opponent. Very, very efficient card. A 2/2 that gives them 2 energy every time it hits us, and then they can spend that energy to put a counter on it, so it can attack as a 3/3, and then a 4/4, and then a 5/5, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Skyship Plunderer, 2/1 flyer. Whenever it damages us, they get to put another energy counter on themselves, and another +1/+1 counter on something. Yeah, I guess they only get to choose one thing, so they could put one more +1 on Cub, or they could put one more energy on themselves. Alright, so we just attack with Aerial Responder here. It's got Vigilance, which is excellent. High Spire Artisan is a 1/4 reach, is going to block Plunderer well as Cub. Feeling pretty good here, and then we go turn 5 Arborback Stomper. And that can attack pretty well just by being a big, beefy beast. A big friend of ours. Bomat Bazaar Barge, draw a card when they play it, and it crews as a 5/5 for only 3 loyalty, so really nice, or only 3 power. Really nice vehicle there. I do like that card a lot. Renegade Rallier is a pretty great draw. We get to draw a card off of the Revolt with the Unbridled Growth and just do it again. So we'll definitely do that in the future, but for now we're still going to Arborback Stomper, play our 5-drop turn 5 here. I guess we could Rallier and Cobra this turn instead, but play a 5/5 to trade with theirs. Probably what we're doing. If we had 6 mana here, so I could get our Death Touching Cobra on the board and play our Rallier, that would be pretty good, because then Death Touching Cobra just holds that Bazaar Barge back. I guess, I mean, we're at 24 life. We're gaining life throughout this game. I'd probably just play Arborback Stomper and then just don't block the 5/5 if they crew it. Yeah, I'm getting 5 more life here. What am I talking about? I'm at 29 life. We're not going to take a trade if they crew the vehicle, because if they crew a vehicle, they're tapping down a bunch of their creatures, which means that Arborback Stomper gets to attack in really well. So, yeah, just play our 5/4 Trampler and use it for attacks rather than blocks. They're probably just going to keep the Bazaar Barge for blocks in that case as well. So they do have 2 energy now from casting an Attune with Aether, so Long Tusk Cub is essentially a 3/3. We need to keep that in mind because they get to use that ability at instant speed. So we can blow ourselves out if we forget that. They have a 4/4 now as well, the Pima Outrider. Well, their board just got dramatically better, but Aerial Responder still slowly but surely wins this game. Well, I'm happy they used the +1/+1 counter right now just to crew the Bazaar Barge, because now I don't have to remember. I don't have to remember the 2 energy they have here. And I'll also just easily just take this damage. I guess Arborback Stomper no longer attacks in well because they have a 4/4, so it just trades into the 4/4. A little bit of a trade down. Still don't think it's worth the trade on blocks when we're at 29 life, especially because it does require them to tap a creature to crew that Bazaar Barge every turn, so this is also a trade down. I think a trade into the Outrider or Bazaar Barge, either way, is just a minor trade down for us. And when I have enough life to play around with, I don't have to take these trades. When I do have like removal in my deck I could get to. So with a Renegade Rallier and Puzzle Knot, if I play those out slowly, I could get 2 1/1 servos out of the Rallier instead of just drawing another card out of it. But I do love drawing me some cards, and 1/1 servos don't do much for us this game. I guess they chump block that 5/5 sometimes. But I think I just want to draw some cards here. Let's see what we get. We do get another land. So now we can play the Cobra and hold up the Death Touch mana, so that the Cobra can block the 5/5. Probably play that over the Puzzle Knot now then. They are tapped out here, so we don't have to worry about any nonsense. We'll just attack in with Aerial Responder past turn. Could draw the card off of the growth here now that we have double white, double greens. There's no reason to keep it around unless I want to use it to trigger a Lifecraft Cavalry's Revolt. We do have 2 of those in the deck, so it could be worth it to keep it in case we hit that. But we do have Cogworker's Puzzle Knot to do the same, coming out soon enough. I think Narnum Cobra is almost definitely one of the best plays we could play in our whole deck right now, so we don't need to draw the card this turn. Next turn, though, I could see just playing the Puzzle Knot, drawing the card, and then we'll just keep Puzzle Knot on board if we need a Revolt trigger for the Cavalries, because by that point we'll have the 7 mana required to spend 2 on Puzzle Knot and 5 on a Cavalry. Nimble Innovator, a little 2/2 and they draw a card. Some decent value here. Board is pretty cluttered up here. They are just going to pass now. There's the Lifecraft Cavalry. Well, good thing I waited, I guess, because there it is. And now we can play that out and still have the green for Cobra, plus we did draw another land. 6/6 Trample, let's go. Could play that main phase too, I suppose. Their board is quite cluttered here, isn't it? If we attack with Arborback Stomper, we still trade down into a 4/4. None of our other creatures attack well because they just get blocked by a 5/5. Yeah, this is a board stall and a half. Even with the Cavalry, to be fair, because they can just block the Cavalry with a 5/5 and a 4/4 and only kill one of them. I'd rather just hold up to the Death Touch on Cobra than cast the Puzzle Knot here. So just hold up the green mana. Another Nimble Innovator from our opponent, getting even more little creatures to jam up the board. And another Skyship Plunder. Well, now they can double block my Aerial Responder and everything in the sky is dead. So that stops the attacks there, but there's a Sky Whaler shot. So now we can make a double block on Cavalry worse if they block with the wrong creatures. I think we kind of do just attack with Cavalry and hope for the best there. Hope that they don't just block with like the whole board, because then we could get a nice 2-for-1 plus get a scry out of it. Yeah, I mean, I think we're not accomplishing anything in the sky now, so we just send in with the Cavalry and see if we can't get something done on the ground. It's possible our opponent will see through this and make a really big quadruple block or something here. But if they just double block, we're living the dream. Oh yeah. So now we kill Bazaar Barge and Pima Outrider. Unless they have Blossoming Defense, and if they have Blossoming Defense, we still kill one of them. Alright. Now we just kill both of them and keep our Cavalry. Just beautiful. Okay. Now, I am going to play that mana out so I can sacrifice the Puzzle Knot in the end step if I want to. If something makes me need to do that, I don't think I'll end up doing that. But just in case, now we have access to the mana required to do so. But getting to kill their 5/5 and their 4/4 on that attack was absolutely massive. Because now Cavalry and Stomper can just get in there because they're going to trade for 2 creatures apiece. Not with a 1/2 Death Toucher, they won't. So now that blocks our 6/6, and then their 2 2/2s block our 5/4. But then their field's pretty small. We still got more stuff. We got Puzzle Knot. Run around. They have good blockers for 1/1s though. Let's just go to our turn. Keep that for Revolt if we draw another Cavalry. So the only way they kill Aerial Responder on board is by blocking with both flyers. It's like if they don't have a trick in hand, then an attack with Cavalry, Stomper, and Aerial Responder kills everything but Long Toss Cub, and then we just slowly get there with our small creatures. I guess this could be bad because we do have interaction in hand eventually. But I also don't want to give them any opportunities to just draw into like bombs. Like I want to press the advantage while we have it here. This Renegade does blow though. I don't know. I'm just going to pass here. And they are going to as well. Well, there we go. That'll do it. I guess if they have a board wipe, they get us, but otherwise, I mean, this is just ridiculous. Counterspell. All right. Well, that's fun. Yeah, well, that means we're just in the same position then. $18 cards left in their deck. Brutal. Oh, that's actually abysmal because now they can start hitting with the plunderers. If they do that, though, I think we just crack back immediately. Just stop playing around with this nonsense. Just get a counter on Cub here, and it's a 4/4. Oh, thank God. Okay, impeccable timing. That's excellent. So now we do have some interaction. Kill the Death Toucher when they block there. We kill both Plunderers, trample for 3, kill Renegade, trample for 6. We hit them for 9 damage. They go to 2 life. Maybe I should have just all attacked here. But I mean, then they just go 2/2s on the 1/1, 3/3 on the 2/1. But I guess I Death Touch trade up into that. But I guess it was possible to find lethal if I all attacked. Yeah, we'll kill the Death Toucher. Trample, put him to 2. And now we just have a 6/6 slamming in. I mean, we just attack all next turn, let's be honest here. Okay. Alright, maybe should have went for those attacks earlier with the aerial responder into the couple of 2/1 flyers. Because, I mean, then we would have gotten those off of the board. They'd still have the Harness Lightning for something else then if they didn't throw it at the responder. I don't know. That was those are the games that definitely try me, that that make me realize, those are the games that like really separate the intermediate from the pro players, and I'm definitely just intermediate. Because I just get into these massive board stalls where I'm like, I just don't know when it is correct to send in or not. Like, do we just wait for somebody to draw something and hope that we hit our interaction before they do? Like, there's just no telling which deck has more interaction in it. But I guess when we have cards like Ridgescale Tusker as well, there's an argument for waiting for something like that. It just gets really, really hazy in those situations. Really nebulous and confusing to me. Those gigantic fields like that. But either way, no matter what happens, now a nice average run, which I'm definitely exceptionally happy at if I ever get an average run when I am in Mythic, because it has been quite a while since I've been up here, and that does mean I am paired against exclusively the best of the best on Arena. Everybody usually like Platinum up, so the drafts do get real difficult up here, in my opinion, but could just be because I am not that fantastic. So 3-2 now, no matter what, an average record here. Cannot be too unhappy about that. Let's see where we can go from here, if anywhere at all. And I do want to mention, I may sound a little different in this video. I do get a comment every time that there's something moderately different about my voice. I don't know if it'll sound super different here, but I am recording extremely close to the microphone. I usually tend to do this, but like extra close to the microphone because it is like very early morning and I don't want to wake anybody up today, because I am on overnights this month, but I will be back to the land of the living in September, which will be cool. Very excited to get back to Dayside for Innistrad's release. But anyways, As much as I love getting that Renegade Rallier value, I think any turn you've just got it on turn 3, you're supposed to just play your highest power creature, especially when the board is empty like it is here. There's a Thriving Rhino we can trade into if they block, which means we're definitely getting some damage in here. Then just play a Death Toucher to block with. Not bad at all, I think. Yeah, we just bounce off with the 2/3, so send in the 3/2. And then just play the Cobra here. I guess I could play High Spire Artisan and make it a 1/4, which is big enough to block without dying. But I think I'd rather present a way to kill that Rhino. So I could play Gear Shift Ace as well and then just double block the Rhino. That actually does make sense to me. It is weaker if they have interaction, but now if they attack with Rhino and make it a 3/4, I can double block it with a 2/3 and a 2/1, and then they only have 3 power to spread among 4 toughness. So unless they have instant speed interaction in the form of a combat trick or a removal spell, we can just do a double block and accomplish the same goal that the Narnum Cobra would have done, which is to just trade the Rhino down into one of our 2-mana creatures. And worst case scenario, we lose a 2/3 and a 2/1 at the cost of 1 removal spell from them. Alright, and they just tap out main phase, so they just don't get an attack in here. So pretty great for us. We're definitely going to attack with the Renegade Rallier. I don't believe I want to attack with the Cobra here, because I still want to have really good blocks. Although I will be tapping out 5 mana. You know, because I'm going to be tapping out here, let's attack with Rallier Cobra. That gets in for 5 damage, or I clear out some Rhinos. And then we're just going to play a 5-drop creature, depending on whether or not something died here. Nothing died, so we'll play the Stomper. But if they decided to trade with Rallier, we'd definitely play Cavalry. If they decided to trade with Cobra, that'd actually be a bad deal for me, because then I have to make Death Touch and then play Artisan. So we were actually being a bit bold there and trying to call their bluff and just be like, you're not going to block anything here when we made that attack. Alright, so now, I mean, they definitely have a trick. Are they going to have 2 tricks? Highly doubt it. So just use a trick, so they trade their trick into our Stomper. They're also at 10 life. On this board, we take 6, go to 19. Yeah, we could top deck removal and just win. Huh. If this is a bluff from our opponent, it's a fantastic bluff, because it is going to get me here. Yeah, I'm going to go for the crackback for lethal. If they're going to tap down all their creatures to put us down to 19 when they're at 10, just crack back. No, it's just a board wipe. But it doesn't kill the Rhinos, because the Rhinos are 4 toughness. Ooh, painful. Oh, it does kill the Stomper too, because extraction. Just going to get brutalized there. That feels worse than when my Dragster got hijacked. Wow. Yep, and now they've just got 4 cards left in hand because they just got like a 4-for-1 there. Absolutely brutal turn of events, but not much you can do to play around cards like that. Just get slammed. Now they've got a Riparian Tiger, which gives them enough energy to attack with these Rhinos. Or one of these Rhinos is a 4/5. 3/3 it is, I guess. Well, is it completely over, though? Revoke Privileges and High Spire Artisan, we can cast both of these, and we have a 1/4 blocker for the 3/4 Rhino. And we shut off the Tiger, so we get an attack this turn. We're very slightly winning the race on board because of the fact that we get to attack before they do. But they've got multiple more cards still in their hand, so I still feel like we're in a very bad spot. But, you know, if they keep attacking with Rhino, maybe we just keep slapping back. Can't attack in now. Now we just trade for the 4/4 and we're getting beaten down by rhinos with nothing to block them. Yeah, seems good. Just take 8 now. We're just dead. We're dead either way. We played that out there. Could have done the chump block that turn and then taken 4 instead. We'd be at 7 life right now, but then with 1 blocker, we block that, take 7. Because I didn't go for the chump block, now I can just chump block there and trade, or I guess chump block there, trade there, and then take 3. Either way, I mean, 3 damage goes to 0. Whew. Brutal stuff. I feel like a couple of those games, our opponents just had excellent cards for the specific position on board. The hijack on the dragster, and then the Henny's expertise there that game. Just gonna absolutely grand slam us, but a 3-3 still up in the mythic ranks. Nothing to scoff at. Nice average run. 1,000 gems and 2 packs will be the reward. So not bad at all. We'll see what we get in our bonus packs, not our bonus packs. We'll get a glint sleeve siphoner. That was an excellent card in one of the aggressive Rakdos decks that I drafted on stream. And a Toolcraft Exemplar as the second rare. So that will go ahead and end the draft for the night. If you enjoyed the video, as always, you can leave a like, comment, or subscribe if you wish to let the YouTube algorithm know to feed you more of these videos. And yeah, thank you all for watching. I know this video was definitely maybe a little bit different in terms of volume level and mindset/mood. I might have been a little bit of a downer here, but it is super late/super early in the morning for me, so it's a different time. Still trying to be chill, still trying to play well, all that stuff. But yeah, that is going to end the draft for today. And we'll see you all again for some more Magic Arena. Probably see you again next time for the Ikoria free draft, and then I'll probably take a bit of a break at the end of the month. I'll do my 1 free draft of Ikoria. But I'm just not super into that format, so I'll take a break between then and by the time I get off of overnights, because I have been pretty exhausted lately, but definitely not too exhausted to enjoy some Amonkhet and Kaladesh at least. But I'll be honest, I think I am too exhausted to get really into Ikoria again. So I'll see you again soon for that free Ikoria Premier Draft, and then after that, not too far until the launch of the new Innistrad set in September. Super pumped about that. So I'll see you all then.